My guest today is Daniel Champagne, who is an extremely talented Australian-born singer, songwriter, and to quote Blank, Gold Coast, Australia, one of the most amazing young percussion guitarists touring the world right now. He is currently touring New Zealand with 35 shows as part of his The Pursuit of the World tour, and has about 17 cities left in New Zealand. Probably like to kick it off by just saying, when you started playing the guitar, what inspired you to pick it up?
Well, I was initially inspired by my dad, who's a bit of a guitar player. So I was born in Melbourne, and he was playing just in a covers band with friends. And so one of my first memories of anything was watching his band rehearse in the backyard. I was hanging out with my mum and my brother and sister, and he had this bright red guitar that I really liked the look of. And so I'd sort of, I guess, try and grab it around the house and play very badly. It wasn't until a few years later I got sent to a teacher that sort of taught me a bit more than the few basic chords.
And you were very young, starting off, 5 years old or so?
Yeah, 5, yeah.
Wow. As you progressed, you say, we were doing a little research on you, that you'd begun writing songs when you were at 12, and you were trained classically throughout your teens. How did the classical training impact your style and your approach to music?
Well, it was mostly technique. So when I was 8, I got sent to a really good local guitar teacher, and he taught me till I was 18. And in those 10 years, we did classical guitar sort of maybe half the time, and then contemporary guitar and all sorts of different, rock and roll, jazz, experimental stuff. The classical thing was great for the dexterity of the hands. There's a lot of like right hand, left hand techniques that I'd have to be practicing every day. Some of the pieces were quite challenging, so training the hands to fit into those shapes. The classical thing was funny because I eventually arrived at this place where I enjoyed playing it, but I realized it didn't really sound like me, and I wanted to go and find my own sound on the instrument. But it's so I could no longer play the pieces I used to play. And I was certainly never a very good reader. That was one of my weak points in classical music. But it's still kind of in the hands, with a lot of the stuff that I do each night. It's kind of thanks to that classical training.
You've toured exclusively across North America, the UK, Europe, New Zealand, and Australia. What are some of your favorite memories from your tours?
Oh, I think so many. Like I really enjoy all the shows, like the big shows, the little shows, the weird shows, the celebratory shows, the festivals. I think for me, it's like the connections that I've made with those countries and the places and the people. When I look back on the places I tour every couple years, along the path that I go, there's a lot of good friends, and so every time I go back, I'm staying at less hotels, staying in more people's houses, and I think the connection to the people that I've met along the way is probably the best part of it for me.
Can you discuss the evolution of your music from your album Gypsy Moth to your most recent one?
I mean, with the albums, I'm always just trying to do the best that I can do at the time. So early on, I guess I was trying to write as good a songs as I can. I look back on some of them and they were okay, some of them not so much. But I guess as you live and you travel and you meet people and learn, I'd like to think your experiences grow and you have a bit more to draw from as of writing. The last album in particular, The Pursuit, that was a very different project because that was the first album I'd done of just instrumental guitar music. So there's no vocals on the album as on the other albums. So that was a very different thing. So it was just after a lot of years of traveling around and writing little guitar pieces in hotel rooms and backstages and at airports. I felt like I had enough to go into a studio, and I'd always thought that I had one instrumental guitar album in me, and it just felt like the right time last year to go and do that. So that was very different, but in general the albums have just hopefully been maturing. Hopefully the songs are getting better, and as far as me as an artist in a studio, I'm still very much learning that art form, which is different to the live show.
Well, how can we buy your music?
So you can buy it straight from my website, danielchampagnemusic.com. It's also all over the internet on all the different pockets of the internet that you'd find music.
Yeah, in fact, I was looking at it and I saw you have quite a number of albums that are available on there. So, and also the explanation of some of the pieces in there, and you're even on Spotify. So,
yeah.
I've listened to you a bit, and I am impressed. You came in with your guitar, and I'm looking at it, and I realize that it's not what I had perceived, because when I grew up, guitar was a beautiful, shiny, smooth thing. And when I was looking at your style and stuff, I said, how does he do that? So you brought your guitar, and I would like to, if you wanted to talk about your guitar, where it's from, how it's constructed, and then the sample of how you use it.
Yeah, well, these guitars are made just outside of Melbourne, so a small guitar company in Australia. And I've been playing them since I was about 15. And over the years, I've broken a lot of them. So basically, because I play so much of the percussive stuff, the thin tops kind of crumbled. So there was one gentleman in the factory that sort of made it a bit of a mission to build an indestructible guitar. And after many years of trying different braces and different woods, he came up with this. And the main secret to this one being so strong is that there's a second top on the inside of this one that you see, with the grain going in the opposite direction. So it's almost like a bit of plywood. And that means that it can take the impact and it hasn't scratched through. But to demonstrate sort of how I play it with the percussive style, I'll
yeah, please do
a little piece. So that's how it ends up looking like that.
I can see why the surface is not all smooth and shiny, because you use it like a washboard almost.
Yeah, I mean, one day when I got this guitar, it was very new and shiny.
Yeah.
But over the years of doing that, it's become like this. And one day, I guess it will scratch through.
Oh, huh.
Yeah.
We just get another one.
Yeah, well, there's no reason that I can't keep patching this up, I think. It's been on the road for nearly 10 years now and played thousands of shows, really.
Do you have a backup, or is this it?
I've got others. Unfortunately, I was traveling with a spare. I was in Canada before I was here in New Zealand, and unfortunately got stolen on that tour. So that was the guitar that was built before this that was the most similar. And it basically spent its last 3 or 4 years just as a spare guitar in case something happened to this, but it got stolen out of the van on tour, unfortunately. So at the moment, there's no spare, there's no backup. So hopefully everything's good with this guy.
Well, one thing when I was doing a little research there, it talked about live pickup technology.
Yep.
Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so when you see me play at a show, a lot of people ask, how does the percussion, why does it come through so clearly in the speakers? And these guys that build the guitar have made a really incredibly unique pickup system that blends 3 different things in. So it's got like a regular pickup that picks up the strings like any guitar, but it's also got a microphone that shoots to the inside and what they call a faceplate sensor, which is basically a vibration sensor. So when I play through a PA system, any of that percussion or scratching or hitting will pop out of the PA as well as the string movements.
Oh, it's quite unique. I don't know many other people that are doing that. Your live shows are known for their being dynamic. How do you prepare for your performances, and what do you enjoy most about playing live?
The most thing, I really feed off playing live just through the challenge of it, because it doesn't really matter what you've done the night before or all the shows before. It's like you still have to perform well in that moment to a new set of people. So it's always a good challenge, and that sort of makes it so I never get, what's the word, I never take it too casually. Like I always take it very seriously. As far as preparing for shows, I don't do a lot. I'm luckily able to flick a switch and go from lying around backstage and eating chips to jumping on and playing hopefully a good show. But that's when I'm touring and playing every night. Like this week I'll play 6 shows, so you're kind of in the zone of what you were the night before. It becomes a little bit different preparation-wise if you haven't played for a few weeks. So maybe if at the end of this tour, I go back to Australia for 2 weeks, and then I'll go to the US. So by the time I get there, it might have been 14 days between shows, and I might feel a little rusty, so I'll be getting more nervous, and there's a bit more preparation at soundcheck or backstage. But when I'm in the throes of a busy tour, it's mostly just being able to get up and turn the switch.
Do you like jamming?
I did a lot growing up. My music itself is kind of it's a solo thing. Like I kind of feel all the bits myself. So often if I end up jamming with people, it ends up being, I'm not playing that much, you're doing a bit less. So it's not as fun or challenging. My music is still very much like a solo pursuit.
What are your future plans in terms of touring and new music releases? And are there any upcoming projects you're particularly excited about?
So there's 3 more weeks left on this tour in New Zealand, and then a couple of weeks off, and then a big US tour. And then for this foreseeable future, I'll go back to Australia and do touring around there. And also me and my fiance we've got a little farmhouse on the south of New South Wales where I grew up. So taking a bit more time off the road and just shooting out to do more sporadic gigs. As far as new music, like there's the odd song popping out. Like often when I'm touring so busy, I won't get big batches of songs, but the odd one will come out. So eventually that, when enough of them have been collected that I feel are pretty good, I'll go into a studio and start working on something new. But no plans. Maybe next year it would be good to get something out.
Do you do notation or keep a diary or things like that? Mm-hmm.
Not really, like a lot of phone recordings.
Yeah.
So my phone is full of ideas to varying qualities. Some of them, like I'll listen back and think, oh, that was a really good idea. And sometimes I'll listen back and be like, I don't know what I was thinking. And then just journals of the lyrics are the other one.
After years of, I'd kind of say, never-ending tour, how do you balance your personal life with your demanding career?
Well, I'm lucky at the moment because my fiance is on the tour, and so she's back at the hotel now, and she was on the Canadian tour before this for 3 months. So I'm lucky with that. And then times between tours, I'll often be in Australia visiting family. But most of it's pretty busy. Like I'm quite happy to fill it with travel and playing music for now.
Well, I'd say you're very inspiring. And what advice would you give to someone who would like to learn to play the guitar?
Oh, I think find what you enjoy about the guitar and do that, because it's no point trying to like work away at something you don't enjoy. Like if you're inspired by it, you're more likely to put in the work and progress. And then once you get to a level where you feel like you're doing pretty well, I think just try and be a bit different and look for points in different, because I think a lot of people in music it's not that hard to get very good, but I think there's a point where people want to see something that's quite humanly unique is kind of what people are connecting with.
Looking back at your journey so far, what are you most proud of, and what lessons have you learned along the way?
What am I? I think I'm most proud that I've kind of built. I guess it's like anyone with a small business. Like there's a certain amount of pride of building it, and knowing that it works, and making a good living off of what you like doing. I think life lessons has been a lot. I mean, I just think of like early years of touring in North America through the snow seasons, and learning a lot about snow and digging my car out of a ditch on the side of the road, and just how to scrape ice off the windshield with a credit card, all those sorts of things. But I'd have to think a little more, but lots of lessons learned, and I know a lot more about the world and quite specific parts of it. If I met someone in America and they said they'd been traveling in New Zealand, I could say, where'd you go? And chances are I knew all those towns that they went to, which is kind of a cool thing about traveling around the world.
Well, when you were in Nashville, you learned to say y'all.
I don't know if I ever said it. I mean, I heard it a lot.
Gosh. Is there anything else that you would like to say before we end the podcast?
I think because we're in New Zealand, I feel very lucky to be traveling here. So this is my 10th time touring in New Zealand, and it was the first country that I went to outside of Australia. And over the years, there's been a really cool community following that's built up that I see at all of the concerts. And I feel like it's a really good little independent music scene here that's growing, and there's a lot of hope and some good artists and some great audiences around the country. So I feel very lucky to be here playing shows.
Well, you're very welcome, because I looked at some of the past too, and your concerts are sold out.
Yeah.
So you have a good, loyal following.
It's a good feeling.
In fact, I'll be here this evening. So.
Right.
Well, thank you for being with us today. We really thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'd like a little bit more music from you. Would you mind to just add a little, some of the lyrics with things too? So.
I'd love to play and sing a song. This is usually the piece that I finish most of the gigs with. It's an older one from an early album called The Same Enemy. I change my guitar strings every day, so it's always getting them in tune before sound check is
You're making jewelry from them?
My partner is,
Yeah.
which is a very cool thing.
Yeah.
My friend, I see only fear in your eyes. I feel like we're living in disguise, and I know that you don't really ever want to say why. Like a runaway train left in the night, the dreams staying naked in the headlights, with the memories that wake you in fright. It feels like all I could ever be was falling by my front door, and it's the same enemy trying to keep our hearts from wanting more. So much easier way back when we could chase whatever and try to pretend the light. We worked so hard to defend my state, but you can only hold this moment for so long, with time trying to sweep it along, and by the time we look back, it's already gone away. Feels like all I could ever be was falling by my front door, and it's the same enemy trying to keep our hearts from wanting more. All I could ever be was falling by my front door, and it's the same enemy trying to keep our hearts from wanting more.
Well, thank you. You made my day.
Thank you for having me.